that she is having moments in which she goes out and with her husband and things like this. Something that has to be considered, of course.
Let me take us a step back before marriage. There's this idea of premarital counseling, that especially in some Western masjids is being really encouraged. And I know, for example, in the United States, some masajid would not allow brothers and sisters to get married until they go through premarital counseling. Do you feel that this is something that is necessary? Or do you feel that it should be an option, or do you feel that we're really maybe looking at the symptoms and we're not really looking at the main cause of the problem?
Right. As far as the one of the requirements for marriage, of course, in Islam, this is not one of the requirements, of course. But if it happened in certain environments where people are not able to get to know one another, then maybe this is a good thing, as long as it's done in a proper way, without committing sins also, to do these types of counselings.
Can we take a phone call? Sister Amina from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Yes, Sister Amina, go ahead.
Okay. Shaykh, please, why are some men want to get married but they don't want to have children?
She is married?
Yes.
But?
They want to get married but they don't want to have children.
They want to get married but not to have children. Okay, inshallah, we'll answer you. Jazakallah khairan, sister.
Of course, the details are not being mentioned in this question, but one of the goals of marriage, why people get married, is to have children. And why do we want to have children? Not just because children are the adornment of this life, but because this is something that basically, when we look at the whole journey that we have on the face of earth and continuously to the hereafter, one of the great deeds that a person can do is that passing the good deed from one generation to the other. So having children, this is a big source of good deeds that a person can achieve on the face of earth. To teach them, to have the upbringing, to be true Muslims, to be true worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single action that they do, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the parents, they have a share of that when it comes to the good deeds. So marriage without having the intentions to have children, so why then to get married? Or what's the reason, or why people would have this in their intentions that they don't want to have children? If it's something that is physical, some people, they would say that we don't want to have children because of the money situation. This is definitely not acceptable. It's not permissible whatsoever, because you are not the provider. As a husband or a wife, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the provider, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemned the disbelievers because of that. When they would do the abortion or kill an infant or kill a newly born, the reason why, khashyata imlaq, out of the fear of poverty. Whether it's out of the fear of poverty for their own selves or out of the fear of poverty for the newly born. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuted their calls, that it's not them, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that provides. And by the way, for those who have difficulty when it comes to financial difficulties, one of the way to have it easy for you, have children. For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And there are so many life examples that we know from our lives. I think if all of us think about people that we know, or even think about us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens so many doors after children come into life.
Right.
Let's take a phone call from Sister Safia from Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Kif halik, brother?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, sister. Go ahead.
If you don't mind, I would like to ask about the marriage of my brother. Because actually he's going to get married by force, because they have one girl, she like him so much, and then the problem is, of course, the men, it comes to that there's something happened between them both, yani, Saitan Mawjood. But then the brother are forcing with the family to get married with that girl. So there's no choice with my brother to get married with that girl without intention, even in the heart, because my brother gets mad and very upset. So there's no choice to get married with that girl. And then my brother told me that he wants, after marriage, he wants to divorce. Now the question, it is allowed in Islamic law to, after marriage, to divorce with the first wife? Because really, it's really make me crazy to think everything, and I'm very upset, And
Okay.
it's so sad for me. I hope you can able to help
Can I
me.
ask you? Can I ask you, please? Why is he forced to get married to her? I didn't get that part.
Because I don't really, don't know the reason, because I know the girls is really like with my brother so much, and then the problem, my brother is crying a lot, and then he cannot able to stand because it's very, very by force. And my brother is complaining and crying and asking for me to not to get married with him. I cannot give him like that advice, because I'm worried about my brother. Maybe the
Okay.
family will kill him. So I told him, okay, it's better to solve the problem, married with her, and after that, inshallah, Allahu Alam, I don't know really, because I'm worried just only for my brother, really. That is very.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you, Sister Safiya. Inshallah, Sheikh
Inshallah.
Ibrahim will answer you bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Barakallahu
Thank you
feek.
very much.
This is also one of the problems. I faced a similar situations like that before, in which a person, even sometimes he feels bad that he has to get married to this woman because he feels bad if he doesn't. Right? This is a very dangerous attitude when it comes to a person getting into marriage. Al-Qabul, or acceptance, is it's something that is very important to be there. This is a lifetime relationship. To get married with the intention that you would divorce, right? This is something that is not permissible. But even to get married thinking, well, maybe, hopefully, whatever, things can happen. We're living at a time where, what if it didn't happen? So this is a form of cheating. Plus, if he breaks the heart, if it's correct to say that, of the other side, now it's better that way, and they will get over it, than getting married and having children, or not having children, and then a person is not able to live with the other partner, and they would divorce, and that's even worse.
Yes.
So definitely from the beginning, and that's why relationships in the religion of Islam before marriage, it's not permissible. And one of the reasons that things happen this way is that people get too close when it's not permissible for them to do that. They're not supposed to know each other. If they just get to see each other one time, acceptance is there, then they can perform the marriage after that. If they didn't get enough when it comes to knowing the other person, maybe another, sitting together can be there, but not to get to know each other or to prolong the period of engagement in which people would develop feelings towards one another before marriage. This is very dangerous. This is not permissible. And that's why if it's done according to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people won't have these feelings before marriage, that it will make it difficult for them to even separate from one another. So the brother should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if he doesn't have the acceptance in his heart, he should stay away and be patient with whatever pressure there is.
Jazakallah khair. My dear brothers and sisters, inshallah, feel free to keep giving us a call in this segment and the next segment, inshallah, with any questions related to Muslim women or related to relationships in general. If you feel that you know someone who's going through a hard relationship, or you yourself are going through a difficult situation, feel free, inshallah, to give us a call, and Sheikh Ibrahim Zidane will give you his advice bi'idhnillah ta'ala. 002 0238 555 248 or 249 bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Sheikh Ibrahim, a few minutes ago I mentioned some of the bad things that we have in our house, music, movies, all sorts of sins and disobedience that bring in the shayateen. If we have to say there's one thing that will bring in the angels and that will make our marriage successful when it comes to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what would that one thing be?
In one word, as-salah. We need to make sure that we perform our salah in the proper way. Salah brings the whole religion in our life.
But salah is a relationship between a person and Allah. Most people will say, what does that have to do with the social aspect of marriage?
Very good question, because we cannot figure out everything. If we know what is good for us, if we know what fixes our relationship and what's the definition of a good household and a happy marriage and so on, then there is no need for wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no need for messengers. We are in need of that knowledge because we do not know. And one of which is this: there are religious means that are known in the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that brings all forms of happiness, beside taking the physical means, of course. One of which, if a person fixes and make the relationship between him and the creator of the heavens and the earth, or her, stronger, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the different relationship also stronger and happiness. So when it comes to the most important act in the day and the night after the tawheed and the oneness of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is our salah.
We have a phone call from Sister Jeddah from Nigeria, and then we'll continue talking about this very important subject. Sister Jeddah, assalamu alaikum. Yes, sister, go ahead. If you can please mute your TV.
Please, I have a question.
Yes, please. But after you mute your TV, please.
Yes, my question is that I have a sister that is married to her husband for the past 10 years.
Yep.
They've been together, so he got married to another woman.
Mm-hmm.
So after the marriage, now the husband doesn't have time for her. So they've been together, nothing, no discussion, no anything between them about marriage. So they've been like that for the past 10 years. I don't know. And she's living with him. Nothing about marriage together. They don't do anything together. So I want to ask, is there still...
Okay, I think we got the question.
The problems that happens as a result of multiple marriages.
Of a second marriage, and the husband is not being fair to the first wife. He's not fulfilling her rights.
The issue of a second marriage, of course, it brings the duty on the husband to be fair, and the warning from the Prophet ﷺ that if a man is not fair between his two wives, he will come on the Day of Judgment with one shoulder higher than the other. That means he is subjecting himself to the punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has to be fair at everything. Yes. On the other side, also the woman, if this has happened to her, whether it's something that she likes or not, in the nature of the woman, this is not there's no woman would like this to happen to her, but she should understand that this is the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If this is the right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to the man, and if it happened that he did, she should be patient, she should seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and she should understand that this is one of the tests in her life. People are tested by many different things. Some people are blind, some people they lose a leg, some people are sick, and sometimes a woman is afflicted by a husband being married to another wife. So she should be patient, and she should not try to break that marriage, and she should be dutiful to her husband and seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have to fulfill certain rights to your husband, right? And say the husband is not fulfilling your rights. You don't have control really over anybody else but your own self. So fulfill the rights that you have towards him in the most perfect way. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. Ask the advice of someone. If somebody that he listens to, a person of knowledge for example, can advise him, whatever there is, take the means. But if, say for example, he didn't listen, and it's something that is not to the level in which that breaks the marriage and so on, be patient and seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This can be the reason for you to enter the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
In this case though, the sister is saying that he's totally abandoned her.
And this is evil. This is not permissible. And if he totally abandoned her, then this is ground for divorce. If he does not repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be fair to her. He has to support her and shelter her, and he has to be equal when it comes to the night spending with both wives and so on.
Jazakallah khair. My dear brothers and sisters, we're going to take a short break inshallah. When we come back, we'll continue talking to Sheikh Ibrahim Zidan about how we can build a successful marriage, and at the same time we'll take more of your phone calls inshallah, so stay with us.
Sisters, let us get closer to Allah. Sisters, let us learn of